Welcome back to the Piping Pastor, and Happy New Year. We are going to be getting back into our Cosmos Club poetry for this first video of the new year. And for this today, I'm smoking my Boswell pipe, and in it, I have some King's Highway by Country Squire. This is part of their fantasy series. And for those of you who may be new to pipe smoking or have not enjoyed a Country Squire tobacco, you'll be can't see the green light. You'll be unaware, but initially this fantasy series was all named after things from the Lord of the Rings. So this was originally Kingsfoil, and then they had one that was called Mirkwood, one called oh goodness, Old Toby, Longbottom. Basically just named after things from the movies, right? In the books. And they got a cease and desist letter from the Tolkien estate saying, hey, stop doing that. So they kept the blends, but they had to rename all of them. Copyright issues. So this is now called King's Highway, but it's a lovely blend, Virginia, Kentucky. And I've recently been enjoying Carter Hall first thing in the morning, my first pipe with my cup of coffee, because Carter Hall is a very nice, familiar, approachable, good tobacco, but allows you just to sit and kind of ease into the day, right? And of course, these are my days off. My days when I'm working, I have no time for a pipe in the morning. But prior to my kind of switch over to Carter Hall for the mornings, it was this. This is a great first pipe of the day with a cup of coffee. It's a bit more complex than Carter Hall, and it's a lot more aromatic. So it's available for any part of the day, but it's just not really in your face. It's a Virginia Kentucky blend, but the components, they blend very, very well. They pair very nicely with each other. But in any case, so on to our poem for today. I was thinking that many videos that are coming out this week and towards the end of last week and so forth, they're going to be about goal setting and looking back and looking forward and different things like that, and dealing with a lot of practical matters, I guess. New Year seems to always draw those out. And I mean, really, a very good one, if you're interested in that kind of video, is Piper Dave. That's Wyoming Wisdom now. But he has a very organized methodology when it comes to goal setting, and he uses the new year as like a starting point. Because really, the new year, it's an arbitrary date, right? But it's a good time to have a starting date and to measure your goals. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, he's a good one to look at. And he's a retired CEO, started his own company, so he knows what he's talking about. But I wanted to kind of get past that a little bit. And in this New Year video, instead, I wanted to speak more towards second and third order effects of our decisions, of the goals that we are setting and making, and how we should look to be advised in the setting and accomplishing of those goals. That'll come a bit more apparent as we get into this. But this poem is by George Holmes, and it's called Harvest. The atom's harvest, now we know, but wondereth one dreamer envisioned in his test tube's glow the corpse of Hiroshima. Short poem, but very punchy and to the point. The atom's harvest, now we know. So now we understand the power of the atom, of nuclear power, nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, so forth. He's like, I wonder if one person, back during this development, saw, foreshadowed, was aware of the possibility of something like Hiroshima. The use of a nuclear weapon, the destruction, the death. Again, second and third order effects, right? And by now, of course, Everyone's aware of the history of the development of the nuclear weapon, of course, and the research team and so forth involved. And I'm not here to debate the ethics of its use and so forth. What I want to discuss is that is an example for any kind of goal setting, whether it's scientific progress, research in the name of research, and so on and so forth. Oftentimes we get caught up in the idea of progress, and the idea of moving forward, especially within the scientific community. There's knowledge for knowledge's sake and seeking after, and so on and so forth. You see it in gain of function research, in virology, and other aspects of that. Let's see what this does. Let's experiment. Let's gain this knowledge without the idea of the second and third order effects of that knowledge. Okay, well, if we do, then what's next? And then what's next? And then what's next? And if we look far enough down the road, perhaps we can see that maybe this is not an avenue we should pursue. Same can be with our personal goals. If I set this as a goal, well, then when I accomplish this goal, what's the effect of accomplishing that goal? And then what's the effect of that effect? Because second and third order effects happen. We don't ever do anything in a vacuum. And when it comes to that point, when you're doing those kinds of evaluations, do you evaluate them on your own by yourself? Or do you seek advice? The wise person seeks advice from experts, from spiritual or religious guides, because your own perspective is limited in the knowledge you have and the directions you're going and the goals that you want to achieve. And we can justify anything. So when it comes to goals and when it comes to gaining knowledge and so on and so forth, seek the advice of other people. And a point I really want to nail here is the moral and ethical implications. Because if you just seek advice from, say, policy experts or experts in these certain fields that you're looking at, or financial advisors, you're going to get the could, right? Can you do this legally? Can you do this financially? Can you do this, with the time you have, and so on and so forth? Can these goals be accomplished? You won't get the should. Should you try to accomplish these goals? Should you try to walk down this road? That comes from your moral and ethical advisors, which are, for most of us, religious leaders, pastors, priests, deacons, people who seek the highest truth, the truth with a capital T, the ontological source of truth that grounds morals and ethics. Because morals and ethics are, ethics can be, teleological ethics, right? Where you can say, okay, utilitarian ethics. There's different ways to justify things that in various ethical models will be okay, right? Morality is something that's a little bit different. And in both cases, you need to seek something that is higher than your own human interest and endeavors. And then that comes through our faith. There's I'm not going to try to get real super controversial here, but the ethic of, or the instance of the boat strikes, when the admiral was called before Congress to report on the boat strikes and should the second strike have been done, and so on and so forth. It was pointed out that a member of the JAG Corps was there with the admiral when he made that choice. The JAG, the lawyers, again, will tell you, can you do it legally? Is there a loophole? Is there a statute somewhere that allows you to do this? Can you get me to yes? Who wasn't there, who wasn't mentioned, whose advice was not sought, was the admiral's chaplain. Not mentioned anywhere in any of those reports. Because there's a difference between can and should. So when you're looking at making decisions this year, setting your goals, looking into the future, what paths to choose over the next year, don't just think about the can. Don't just do a SMART goal and see if you can accomplish it. Think about what the second and third order effects of that decision are, and then get some moral and ethical advice on whether those goals should be achieved. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Well, that is it for this time. I hope you have a great new year. I hope you had a lovely time with family and friends and that everything ended up safely. Hope you have a lovely week. As always, happy reading.